Welcome to a sports betting podcast from pregame.com for the week of January 29th, 2010. I'm your host, RJ Bell. I'm joined by Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business, Vegas runner, genuine professional bettor here in Vegas, star of the CNBC special on gambling. This is segment 2 of 6, and this is our second segment on the Super Bowl. We're discussing it week 1, and then clearly next week we're going to have week 2 and even more discussions. We'll be talking props next week, arbitrage, all kind of different exciting stuff for the Super Bowl. Now in part 1 we really talked about the line move, and you can get that at pregame.tv, but let's continue talking about the line move a little more.
And the situation and everything leading up.
Alright, so we in between tapings here we had 5 minutes and we were talking about, we don't know if it's going to go to 7 or not.
Right.
But what we do know is it's not going, I would be willing to make a major bet, it's not going under 6.
Right.
I mean, we had right now there's 5.5s, you see them hitting 6. Once it gets to 6, I'd be very surprised to see it go down.
Right.
So my point is,
if the wise guys want to middle this game, they're going to wait till it goes above 6. And they have the luxury of waiting until 5 minutes before kickoff to get down. And that's what they're going to do. With 5 and 5.5 being such dead numbers, they don't want to middle by laying 4 and getting 6.
And real quick for the novices, dead numbers mean in the NFL 3, 7, 10, 14, 17, 21, though a little bit less. They fall more often than numbers like 5.
Right.
So every number has a certain value, and 5 actually has a low value.
Right.
Though 5 has a higher value than it used to, because sometimes late in the game, if the number's 5, they'll go for 2.
Right.
And if they miss it, it stays at 5. And back in the day, they would always have to, before 2-point conversions, they'd kick and go to 4. But still a dead number in general.
Right, and that's why they're so willing to move it up like that from 4.5, 5, 5.5. And people think how much money was bet on it, and that's not necessarily the
friction. The friction going through 5 is a lot less than going through 3. And Marco, you did, and we don't want to get into it here. You've done a blog post on the value of 3, and people are going to be really surprised. And the short answer here, and check it out at pregame.com in the blogs, is if you would have taken every 3.5 since 1980 and been able to get a 3 on it and laid the 3 instead of the 3.5 because you shopped around or whatever, you would have actually made 20 units or over 20 units since 1980 blindly laying 3 when everyone else was laying 3.5. A half point pushed you into a major profit, and you would have lost 30 units blindly laying 3.5. So there was a 50 unit difference just off a half a point.
Sure.
So, and great stuff in your research with that.
I want to give a shout out to Mark Lawrence. It helped with the numbers, the research on that.
The one thing the books are happy about, from what I heard, is that Mini didn't advance, because this might have been the first time they had to wait to put out a number on the Super Bowl because of the health of Brett Favre. That he got so banged up, they had either or lines. Before the game started, they had either or lines. If this happens, this is what line we're going to put out. When the Indianapolis won, they had created an either or line, either against Mini, either against New Orleans. As the game progressed, they started getting worried that if Minnesota advances, how do we add the Favre factor if he's injured, because he was not 100% when that game ended. So fortunately they didn't have to cross that bridge.
Alright, so interesting. So advising on early betting, it seems very unlikely you're ever going to be laying less than 5.5. Right now you're able to lay 5.5.
Right.
If you like Indy, I would play it now.
Yeah.
Alright, if you like the dog, it's hard to imagine you're ever going to be getting less than 5.5.
Yeah, you could wait.
So you can wait, and probably wait all the way to game time. Though if you do see a 7 coming next week, it might be time to jump on. I'd be shocked if it went to 7.5.
You know what I was just thinking about when you said it's the most influenced public perception game? You're absolutely right. When you even hear the Las Vegas odds makers out here, you know what, on a neutral field, their true ratings would have the Colts against the Saints. Colts would only be about a 1.5 point favorite over the Saints.
But it does bring up a good point, and Marcos, we talked about this recently, is if you see something, it's more meaningful.
Sure.
If you win or lose money on it, it's more meaningful.
And 57 million people watched that game.
I had a big bet on the Saints. I bought it in some spots, and actually others I actually laid the 3.5. And I'll tell you right now, I was pissed. And I don't know if it was an extra big bet, if it was because it felt like we should have had, even though we got outplayed, it felt like that should have been a game we got lucky on. There's a lot of little things. And I can tell you right now, I can't imagine, and I'm a pretty disciplined bettor, I can't imagine wanting to bet that Saints team again.
No, and the odds makers say if they would have had to play this game again next Sunday, they would have put the game at a pick'em.
Is that right?
Yeah, their adjustments, because they adjust after the games, their adjustments now would have Mini a 3-point, what's it called? A pick'em at New Orleans, so 3 points better than them on a neutral field.
Wish it would have been pick'em.
Yeah, now that's the number they would use. The reason this line came out high is because they added Super Bowl experience for the Colts.
And public perception.
Yeah, but listening to what Ken White from LVSC said, he actually created his line and made it 1.5. And then he stopped and he thought, wait, I forgot to add in that within the last 5 years, the Colts not only got to a Super Bowl, but won a Super Bowl. And that's the biggest difference, not just getting there. And the reasoning was if the Buffalo Bills would have won one of them Super Bowls, they would have won 3 or 4 type thing.
So here's my question to Marco, is we always talk about how can we get something where the public reacts to it, but it really isn't meaningful, and then go the other way because that's where the value is. When is something deceiving or misleading? And my question is watching that New Orleans game, people clearly have reacted strongly to it. My gut feeling is properly reacted. I think this New Orleans team was debunked, was unmasked. I really looking back, I said, what's been their marquee win? I said it before the game, is the Giants felt like a marquee win, it wasn't. And then it felt like the Patriots was, but the the Ravens dismantled the Patriots, and then they got dismantled by Indianapolis. Other than that, what's the marquee win for this team? They were at home. Supposedly the home field was going to mean everything, and they got almost doubled in yardage, if I remember. I don't know how it ended. Like, I know late in the game, it was like 400 to 200.
Yeah, but they were also, that was a big pressure situation. This team has never been in that spot. I know
even more now.
They were home. No, but I'm saying they didn't look even from the beginning of the game like that Saints team.
So my question is, there's a huge reaction to the poor performance by the Saints. Is it warranted?
I think it's an overreaction. I've said it all the time that when a team has a winning, they have that magical season, somewhere along the line they have that game that they shouldn't have won, that they advanced. And this is definitely New Orleans. They're living.
What's their marquee win?
Well, the same thing.
Do you have an answer?
I don't have a marquee win.
That's all I need to hear. Because there is no marquee win.
But let's flip it. The Indianapolis had the easiest road to the Super Bowl.
They haven't lost a game with their starters.
But they had the easiest road to the Super Bowl. They got to play
everyone they're playing is easy.
A second-year quarterback, and they won the championship game against a first-year quarterback.
Who would have beat the Colts in the AFC?
Well, it was supposed to be the Chargers.
The team that lost at home against the team you said it's easy for the Colts to beat.
Right.
Come on. All right, last interesting point here is we were talking about the odds makers. To me, this is a reoccurring theme that we keep talking about, is there's this sense that these odds makers are on the mountaintop.
Yeah, and have a supercomputer.
Yeah, supercomputer. When in truth, there's 4 or 5 guys that drive up. There. Well, not like us, I don't think. I don't want you to say that to me.
No, I'm saying sitting around the table.
That's what I'm saying. They're driving up in their beat up Volkswagen, making lines. And listen, they know their stuff, but they're only a handful of people, and they're very smart, but they're not the smartest people in the world.
No.
Because let's be honest, if you could beat the line, there's a lot more money than there to be made than making the line. The only people willing to make the line for a living are the ones that can't beat the line. And I think an example of that is that they sent out 52 and for the total, and it actually opened at 56. The book said, I don't don't care. It's you say 52, we say 56.
And the market shows they were wrong.
We're up against it. Okay, guys, you can get all of our videos at pregame.tv, or if you want to download and listen, just go to iTunes and search for pregame.com.